Exactly.
I'm going to tell my
We are alive here in the middle of a conversation. I want to welcome everybody to Real Estate Talk TGIF. This is episode 20. I'm sorry, 225. I just told you, John, I mess up all the time. We
It's
have done
totally
this.
fine.
We have done this for 222 weeks in a row. We've had, you name the greats, we've had them, and now we got another one. Holy shit! This is John Pugh, the John Pugh. It's John Pugh from Orange County, California. John's been in the business a little while, and has been great. And John, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, Dave. It's great to
I'm
see you,
just
man.
I'm just going to go to a little intro, and we'll be back and get rocking and rolling.
Awesome.
Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. Hello and good morning once again, everybody. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF, as you just heard. It is episode 225, 222 weeks in a row. And we have the John Pugh. Hey, John, how are you, man?
I'm doing really good, Dave. Thanks for having me on this morning. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad you're able to make it. It's, this is something that I do passionately every week, and it's just something I just cannot stop. I started it because I saw someone doing a really crappy job with something like this, and I said, I can do that, right?
Yep.
And now it's like, it's a good addiction. Anyway, so John, as I said, it's Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 225, and it's the first question I ask everybody on the broadcast. Not everyone gets the answer correct, so you'd be in massive company if you did not get it correct. What does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday.
Well, you are so very close.
Thank God it's finale.
Second choice, you got it. Thank God it's finale. That is correct. Thanks. You figured that out. You're a smart man. That's why you're here. You're one of the greats. So
I try.
John, you've been in real estate a little bit, and I mean, probably I think more than most. As I've been in business, really most all of my adult career, adult life, as you have your entire life. So
absolutely,
talk to me about your background, your family, your process to get into the real estate business to get where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So I got into real estate from the age of 7, really, when I was a little kid. So I started passing out flyers on my rollerblades. I never really had a job. My first lemonade stand was, passing out flyers for my parents. They were in the business, and I grew up in open houses. And when the MLS went from being in big books to onto computers, I was in high school. And so I started doing like CMAs and data analysis and things like that with my parents. And I got licensed right out of high school, and they didn't really have enough business for me. My dad had a heart transplant when I was 10, and the doctors gave him 5 years to live, and he ended up getting 10. But he was kind of at the end of his career and life expectancy at that time. So my mom put flyers in all the mailboxes at her Coldwell Banker office, and one of the guys responded and was like, "Hey, I need somebody to babysit my assistant." So I went in there not knowing what to expect in Newport Beach, and found out that assistant was making probably way too much money. And I figured that was a great opportunity for me to come in and replace him quickly. Worked together with him for 7 years. Together, we built one of the top 10 real estate teams in the country. We were featured in the Wall Street Journal multiple times, sold well over $100 million a year at the bottom of the Great Recession, sold Nicolas Cage's house for $35 million, stuff like that. After that, I did that for about 7 years. I left that partnership because I was really burnt out. I didn't want to help rich people trade assets, and I wanted to work with people who needed my help and appreciated what I did and where I could really make an impact and develop relationships. And so I left that and started from scratch. I went to Coldwell Banker, where my stepdad was regional vice president. I just figured I could outwork everybody. If I showed up first and left last and took what I had learned in those 7 years, that I would be able to apply it. Sold about 4 million in the first 6 months, and I got a recruiting call from Keller Williams. And it was a great guy who went over a lot of things that I still use to this day. Taught me really how to treat it like a business, and tried to close me. And at the time, my stepdad had cancer, and so it wasn't a good time for me to make a move. But they said, okay, take this business plan back to Coldwell Banker and see what happens. And I did, and I started treating it like a business and following a lot of those Keller Williams principles, and got my business up to about 10 million. At which time I got another call from My current business partner, his name's Meyer Takarar, and he was the team leader at Keller Williams Newport at the time. And so I said, hey, I know all about this company. Went over, met with him, went to Bold, went to Mega Camp as a recruit, and then signed up. Got super deep into the Keller Williams ecosystem. Was on the ALC, the International ALC, chair of the growth committee, lots of things, and got my business up to about 20 million in production. At which time the owner of our office also owned the Huntington Beach Market Center. She tapped me on the shoulder and she said, hey, would you like to run this? And crazy enough at the time, I said, yes, I do want to run this.
It's crazy.
I went over and realized what an insane job that is. If you're a Keller Williams team leader, dude, props to you. That is the hardest job in the world. And then after about 2 years, my partner and I had launched another market center. So Meyer got to be the OP of Costa Mesa. Launched that from an idea to about 200 agents. And then I became the productivity coach over there for a while before we looked around the room and saw that most of the smartest people that we knew were moving over to EXP. And I had watched the company for about 4 years, realized that it was definitely not a fluke, not a scam, not any of the things that people said it was early on, and decided to make the leap of faith under Kyle Whissel and Dan Beer. And that was about 2.5 years ago. And since then, we've grown what is currently the fastest growing large group at EXP. We have 560 agents in 27 states, 3 Canadian provinces, and we run the entire thing like a brokerage within a brokerage. So regardless of what level people fall on in our organization, we're looking at it as like a brokerage and expansion team. We service them at all levels in order to increase their productivity, to help them generate passive income, build and scale their real estate team, implement to whatever goals they're looking for. And that's kind of what sets us apart and makes us different.
Wow. Very interesting background. Extremely cool. I mean, you know, I understand my dad was a dentist, but he was in real estate, and that's how I got into real estate. He was a real estate developer, whatever. And that's how I learned everything I know today, and then some.
My mom cried when I told her I was going to be a real estate agent, and she begged me not to go into the business. And you know, I think that's because like they never really treated it like a business. And
Right.
so it was that roller coaster, and it was very emotional for her. And so she didn't want to see me deal with the struggles that she dealt with, which I have definitely struggled with over the years in some capacity. But in general, real estate's been the biggest blessing ever. You know, I got into it because my parents never missed a football game. They never, you know, my dad was always there for me to drop me off at school or pick me up or when I got home. And so, you know, just seeing like how present my parents were able to be, like, yeah, they worked a lot, and they had the flexibility to be at what was important. And that was, I mean, that was the deciding factor. And to this day, like the greatest blessing of being in this industry is that flexibility. And that's ultimately my favorite thing about, you know, what I'm building at EXP is that time geographic freedom that we're building.
Absolutely. And the thing I want to hit you with is this roller coaster thing. You mentioned that, right? So I want to start there, right?
Cool.
So your mom had a roller coaster business, and I'm going to think that most agents that are actually in production, that are actually like doing a few deals, are roller coaster. And the simple view of this from a 30,000-foot view is that they get a deal, they obsess on the deal, it's done. Now they got to go get another one, right? Yeah. You know what? I don't know who it was that said that you can't perfect anything until you have consistency, right? So how did you get consistent? And did that ever disappear for you? And what did you do for that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So like I said, I came over, you know, when I left that partnership, my goal, we had $750 million of active listings and 500 million in pocket listings. So I was managing about 1.3 billion in business. And yet at the time, even though we had all that business, we still went 18 months without a sale once. So it's crazy how you can be taking listings and working hard every day and not see that show up financially. But when I left, I decided I was just going to put my nose down and work. And I really mastered that like daily lead generation early. And what I see a lot of people struggle with is like what you said, right? They get in, they have a certain amount of money they need to make, they get a deal, and they feel like their highest responsibility or the best use of their time is to do the paperwork and to go on all the meetings and all that stuff. So I think the biggest thing that changed for me, honestly, was when I got a coach and when I started actually tracking my numbers. And when I started having to report, because I'm in Southern California. So if we take a listing a week, we're making a lot of money. And most agents don't do that. And
Right.
so once I started having to fill out a form that literally said every week, like how many listing appointments I went on or how many listings I took. And when that number was like frequently zero, and like, my friends in SoCal, like we were okay with that. A couple weeks go by, you don't take a listing, nobody dies. But when you're talking to somebody who sells 200 or 300 units, they don't understand why you didn't take a listing that week. And so you just have to get in that habit. And literally the simplest thing I did was just scrap all the noise. Like don't focus on anything else. Literally focus on taking a listing every week. If you do nothing else, if you just get to the point where you're like, okay, how many appointments do I have to go on to take a listing? And what would I have to do if my only job was to take a listing this week? Where would I find it? That honestly is very focusing and a big game changer.
All right. So let me ask you the question. I asked this, I did a survey a year and a half ago. I asked a bunch, like 3 or 4 top agents all over the country. And I asked them the question, gun to your head, you need a listing this week. How are you getting it?
That's a great question. So what I would do is I would go after probably old expireds.
Old
And
expired.
yeah, I would go after old expireds, or I would go after like non-owner occupied. And I would reach out to them and I would update them with, current market trends. And I would say, hey, you wanted to sell. So, that's like low hanging fruit that's being unattended to. That would probably, or I would list my own house. Um, and I know people who have done that with success for sure. But creating a package, like coming up with something that take a picture of the front of the house, like maybe send something cool. Like one of my favorite ways to get people to pay attention to you is to send a UPS or a FedEx to them. And that's definitely a way that we were able to bypass the gatekeeper. So we sent like a really expensive 100-page brochure to a bunch of people that had a tax value of 5 million or above at one point. And so taxable values show that they had the money to buy it, rather than people who like bought it a million years ago and it's just a family property. So we specifically targeted really rich people, and you bypass their gatekeeper, right? Like rich people, everything goes to their secretary. But when it's an overnight or a FedEx, then they actually open it. And I can remember the calls I got. I remember one day I was sitting at the phone and I got a call, and it was this guy. And he's like, hey, I got your brochure. Like, how big of a boat can I put in front of that house? I'm like, there's no dock. Like, he's like, it looks like there's a dock. I'm like, there's not. He's like, well, I have a 150-foot yacht that's being built in Mexico right now, and I need a place to put it. Where can we park the boat? And I was like, there's like 3 spots, dude. Let me let you talk to my buddy. Like, I passed him over to my mentor, and we ended up selling him Nicolas Cage's house.
So you would send brochures of homes available,
Yeah,
to rich people.
yeah, it's a luxury marketing plan. So generally, like people at the luxury level, like there even to this day, there's very little creativity. And so that was a really solid one. Was we were actually targeting people who could afford it, that likely lived in the area, and we ended up double ending that property for 27 million. I did a $54 million deal in 2008 as a result of some of that.
So that was a pretty good payday for you then, right?
That was the most money I'd ever made at the time. I made way too much money as like a 26-year-old kid. And I bought these $8,000 plane tickets to Italy. And then we went 18 months without a sale. And by the time the trip arrived, I had these non-refundable airplane tickets that cost like as much as an investment property. And I didn't have enough money to really go on the trip. So we ended up booking like really crappy hostels, and like it was not the trip that I had intended. But we ended up going and having an okay time, and I learned a lot of like that was a really critical moment in my life.
Yeah, and what year was that?
That was 2009.
2009. Similarly, I had booked the trip to Italy as well and changed it. I want them going to Disney.
That's kind of the same. Epcot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we went to Epcot. We got to go around the world, but
Mm-hmm.
I know how that is. So that was 2009. You had 18 months without selling. How did you get out of that? How did you come from, you had that huge sale, and then did you start over? What did you do?
So we just continued to persevere. And I can remember there were times like it was not a healthy relationship at that time. We had worked together for too long, and that downturn really took a toll on our relationship. But I can remember my mentor telling me like, this is going to turn. And when it turns, we're going to make a lot of money. And I couldn't hang through the final, like the market had started to recover, but the luxury market had not. And I
Right.
couldn't hang through that recovery. So I ended up losing out on probably what would have been over $1 million of commissions for properties that I had actively participated in,
Right.
as a result of leaving that partnership. But,
Right.
it was just a matter of continuing to like have faith and do the activities. And like we made some money and we sold some houses, but eventually but at the bottom, like it's not, so it's one of the best things that I can teach people is like up markets or down markets are really actually left and right. And so like your market is not up and down, which connotates like good or bad. The market is really like seller or buyer. And there's always deals to be done on either side. The hard part is the swing. So the hard part is when things shift between a seller's market to a buyer's market or a buyer's market to a seller's market, or there's any uncertainty in the market. So what we're dealing with right now is a high degree of uncertainty and people
Right.
don't know what's next. And so
Right.
as a result of not knowing what's next, especially with interest rates, like interest rates shoot up and then they start to improve and then they shoot up again. And everyone's like, I don't know where this is going. So I'm just not going to do anything. And that moment of I'm not going to do anything is what sucks the actual unit count out of the market. It's actually going to be based on commission dollars available and total unit count. And so when the unit count drops, that's when everybody goes out of business and starves. There's lots of deals to be done in a buyer's market. There's lots of deals to be done in a seller's market. You just have to get with that strategy at the moment.
So it appears to me, and I've heard this before, is that it's buyer's market, seller's market. It depends on you as the agent, right? So I would look at it as a realtor's market, no matter what market it is, because it's going to depend on the work that you're going to do in order to build your business. I mean, it's a question whether you rely on what the market is telling you, or you rely on yourself and deal with what the market is telling you. Does that make sense?
I think you need to have the messaging that matches the market. So that's something Dan Beer is really good at sharing with us and has implemented. I As long as your messaging matches the market and you drown out the noise. So I think where people go wrong is they get caught up in all this uncertainty and they start acting like the buyers and sellers. And the reality
Yes.
is there's always people out there who need our help. And when things are hard, they need our help even more.
Right.
And so most agents don't want to be real and have the real conversation with sellers or the real conversation with buyers. And they're not educated enough to be able to articulate the nuances of it to help people make the best decision for them. So is today the best time to buy a house? I don't know. Is today the best time to sell a house? I don't know, because that's an individually specific conversation for
Perfect.
everyone. But for a lot of people, it is. And so if you can walk them through that and help guide them to that answer, and you have a mindset that looks at times of trouble, times of, times that are really scary or difficult or whatever word the media wants to put on it, those are opportunities. And right now, a lot of people are going to be going out of business. And, that's unfortunate, except for the people who are not going out of business. That's a really big win because we're going to have more opportunity for market share. And if you can just reframe your mindset to say, hey, people need me more now than ever. And there's more opportunities out there than ever. And my skill set is appreciated more than ever. Like if you look at all the benefits, this is actually a huge opportunity. It's not something to be scared of.
I spoke earlier this week at an event that I ran called Fuel Your Fire. And one of the things I talked about was this being a very opportune time, because there's going to be a lot of people leaving the business because they don't get it, because they get in the business when it was, I got a buyer, I found a house. All they do is make sure that they offer enough money and I get the deal. Right. And all these people didn't realize that they really weren't building their business. They were just moving along with the market, and the market was pulling them. They weren't pushing it. Right. So the most important part is to go along with the market, and the ones that are going to survive are the ones that are going to excel are the ones that deal with the market. And like you said, and Dan Beer says, the message has to match the market. If you look at, when I look at a lot of the agents that are excelling today, you yourself as well, most of them got in the business at the time when we're talking about 08, 09, 10, 11, in that area. Dan Beer, Kyle Whistle, same thing, right? And look at them today. They were
I,
able
I
to.
think I think the agents who got into the business in 09, 2010, whatever, they are the best agents. Like
Yes.
frequently because they got in when it was really tough, and that's all they knew. They just knew the activities that were required to succeed in that market. And so, they're licking their chops. They're excited about this market that we're entering or we're in right now versus the agents who got in, the poor agents who got in 2015, 2016. I mean, there's agents that have never done a price reduction before. Like I saw a crazy stat. There's like 91% of agents haven't even like dealt with a market with like a price reduction or anything that we're dealing with right now. Like there's such a large percentage of agents that have never seen this, and that's crazy.
So here's the way I look at it, because I've been around a few years and I've seen a lot of these things happen, right? So '05 to '08, I understood how it happened. I understood what happened and what and how it worked and how people had to build their businesses. And what I saw there with real estate agents was really simple, and it's happening now. Same thing, not the market, the real estate agent. They turned into order takers, right? In '03, '04, '05, '06, they turned into order takers where they didn't have to have any skills to get a listing or to get a sale. They just had to do the work. That all changed, and we lost a lot of people way back when. If you look at the stats, you'll see that the curve goes down in the number of real estate agents. If you look at 2020 and 2021, we went from 1.5 million realtors to 1.6, but 400,000 of that 1.6 were new, right? That's a stat that no one sees. So we're at 1.6, and what we've got now is still a bunch of order takers that got into business, or as an order taker, they want to be an investor, so they figured they'd get their license. I can't tell you how many people like that I talked to, right? As being a mentor, they wanted to get in the business, so I got them as a mentee. I didn't want those people because I knew they weren't going to do the work. And as far as the way I work and the way you do it, you want to work with people that are going to get excited about what you're helping them with. And that's what I see today, which is difficult. We talked about, the ups and downs of the market. We talk about the ups and downs of the agent's business. And we also talked about getting a listing right away. How does an agent become consistent on a week-to-week, day-to-day, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter basis?
Yeah. So I am not Mr. Call Your Expireds. I can do a killer FISBO or a killer FISBO script because my script partner for years did FISBOs, but I'm a relationship guy. So I think the way I like to be consistent is to build relationships with your sphere of influence over time. And I have a strategy that will kill on, 200 person database. So what a lot of people are taught is that you need to have a 2,000 or 3,000 person database, which sure, there's strategies for that, and that works great. And the more people you have, especially if they're like, C's, and you market to your C's at a high level, like that's great. But if you have 200 raving fans, that's all you ever need. You can take any goal that you want, and if you communicate with those people regularly, if you add value to them consistently and systematically, and then you hold them accountable to one referral, you're going to be good. And it's one introduction. So their job is not to pre-qualify the person that they're introducing you to, but if they can introduce you to one person that might need your services throughout a 12-month period, and every 3 months you can check in on them regarding that one introduction, and you teach them to introduce you by 3-way text message, almost every single person is going to say yes. And if you actually remind them a few times, most of those people will actually follow through. And if most of those people follow through and you're not a piece of shit, then you will be able to have those conversations with those introductions and turn them into clients. And that is most of almost any real estate agent's goal in the entire world can be captured through that one strategy alone.
So everyone watching this now on replay should rewind the last 3 minutes of this video because you just got a basic plan of business.
I have, if you go, so these above, it actually should say it's John
Pugh. And I apologize for that.
He has that. He can throw that on the screen. But if you go to my TikTok and you watch, I've got a ton of videos with a lot of actionable content. I post 3 to 4 videos a day. Really just trying to put it out there to the agent community and help as many people as I can. If you ever comment on one of my videos and you have a question or you need help, I guarantee you I will do a response and I will help you. If you DM me on Instagram and you need help, I guarantee you I will help you. Like my life's passion is to help the real estate industry improve, sell more houses, feed their families, in whatever brokerage you're in. So please reach out to me or engage with my content. But if you go and look at my stuff, like I've got a ton of actionable videos on things just like that. And that specific strategy I break down in more detail on my TikToks as well.
Yeah, I want to hit this the database thing, because I keep telling people this is the most important part of your business. This is where you're going to start, and this is where it's going to keep you going no matter what, right? You said the magic number is 200. Always agreed with that. And people talk, well, I need to have, I got 2,000 people I know, and no. I will tell you that Bill Pipes talks about when you get to 1,000, then you can stop doing everything you're doing. But what Bill means is not just 1,000 random people. It's 1,000 past customers. It's 1,000 relationships that include your sphere of influence, past customers, relationships you have built. It's not just names and addresses and email addresses. It's really meaningful people. And that can take years to build. Your base of your sphere of influence, certainly, whatever you want to call it, is 200, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But if you work that right, you should be getting at least, I'm going to say 5, if not 10, if not 15% of those people finding you business. And like you said, you teach them and train them how to refer you.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
80-20 rule, right? Most of your business is going to come from 40 of those people.
Right.
And that's why, you know, those are your key relationships, and those are probably your true A's, and then your B's are probably the majority of the rest. Hank Havink has some really great strategies around this with his 36 to Life program. One really important thing to note is, like, first you guys got to start with the real goal. So what I see too frequently is people get into real estate and they got caught up in this like very sort of ego driven sales numbers situation where it's like, oh, well, I sold 100 houses, I sold 1,000 houses, like whatever. And they don't feel like they're valid unless they hit some type of number. But what you don't see on that is you don't see the profitability of those businesses. So, you know, I can remember one time I saw Ben Kinney speak on stage and I wrote on my little note card, like, I want to sell 600 houses a year. And like, that's all well and good, but like, I had no real reason for why I wanted to do that. And that's really the wrong goal. Like, you should look at it for what kind of life do I want to live? What do I really want to get out of this? The business should fund the life that you're looking for and the lifestyle that you're looking for. And so start with that and then design a business that matches the type of life you actually want and funds that appropriately so that you don't blow past your actual goal. I see people go way, way past. Like, I tell people all the time, it's like, don't build a spaceship if you just need a bicycle. Like, if, you know, like, you don't have to build a 100-person mega team, because sometimes you gross $2 million and you only take home 400,000. And so what's the point, you know, unless that's just your goal and you just want to grow and you just want to help people or whatever. Like, if that's your goal, great. But if your goal is just to make 400 grand, then maybe there's a way that you could sell, you know, 800,000 GCI with less overhead, with less risk, with less stress, with less hours, with less whatever, and live a better life and take 50% to the bottom line and still net 400,000. And, you know, that's the life you're looking for.
There's a lot of stuff in what you just said. You know, number one is I want to say that, you know, you design a business for the lifestyle you want to have. That's Jimmy Rex. I don't know if you know who Jimmy Rex is, but he's been a guest here, as well as Hank Havink. Same thing, right? That 36 number. He's also been on the broadcast. So you name dropping really nice. But I also want to say, look, you know, profitability is something that's really important, and people aren't looking at that, especially in teams. Talk to me a little bit about profitability in teams and everything else, and should you actually take that leap, and if you're doing a lot of business.
There's 2 really good seats in real estate. This is one of my favorite things to coach people on. There's 2 really good seats in real estate. One is a solo agent with some really key value leverage. So the key value leverage is going to be an amazing transaction coordinator, possibly TC plus, right? Somebody who can do your TC normal contract to close stuff, but maybe also somebody who will help you prepare a listing agreement or help you with some outside of like your normal TC responsibilities. That person is amazing, especially for most agents, if you can pay them per transaction, which doesn't scale amazing if you're going for bigger numbers, but like, it's a low risk at the front end. And so, you know, people are like, when should I hire a TC? Like, on your first file. And they're like, well, I want to learn the paperwork. Great. Hire the TC to teach you the paperwork. But you should still have a transaction coordinator handling your paperwork, because it's just a waste if you don't do that. So number one, get that person. Number two, get some people to be showing agents. So find some people that are willing to go open doors for a fixed amount, or a fixed amount plus a small commission or something like that, so that you don't have to be actually the one out there opening the doors on weekends, or you can be in 2 places at once or 3 places at once, however that ends up being. Key value leverage, where you're still taking at a minimum 60% to the bottom line, as much as I've seen about 80%. If you're taking more than 80% to the bottom line, that's a missed opportunity. You're running at too high a profit, and your lifestyle is probably impacted as a result of it. If you're running below 60% to the bottom line as a solo agent, you're probably giving too much away. So that's kind of the sweet spot. And then the other really good seat is a buyer's agent, right? An agent on a really successful team that has a crap ton of leads. So if you join a really well-run team with great admin support and a bunch of leads, really all your job should be is to show up and work with clients. Do the part of real estate that everybody got into real estate for, that most people don't get to spend most of their time in because they have to do all the other stuff. And so if someone's willing to front the overhead, run the team, manage the people, pay for everything, and feed you leads, and all you have to do is go work with the customers that ideally you like, and then take 50%. Let's say your split's 50-50. You take 50% to the bottom line. Well, guess what? Your 50% is all profit. And I guarantee you that team lead is taking home 20 or 30% at best, maybe 10. I coach some of the top teams in the entire country. And I can tell you that, like, proportionately, what I see is that the bigger the team you have and the more houses you sell, the more miserable you are, almost every single time. And that's what nobody's talking about with these mega teams. Like, I know a
No,
lot of very, very successful, really big number team owners, and they are not happy with their lifestyle, with their team, with their responsibilities and all that stuff. So next time you go and you're like, oh, they want 50% of my commission to be on their team, that's ridiculous. Like, no, that's actually a really fair deal, because that's pure profit. You don't have any expenses. Yeah, maybe you have to pay for your gas and your licensing, continuing education, board dues, like some crap. But in general, you're taking home a really nice cut of somebody else's liability, risk, energy, effort, all that other stuff. So those are the two seats I really like.
that's really some great stuff. I mean, you talked about doing the business, doing the work that you got into business for. And the way to do that is to actually leverage, and you're leveraging with a transaction coordinator or being being on a team, right?
Yeah.
What is the best way that you've learned to leverage your business? I mean, you've had a team, you've got this group, this organization all throughout the country. How have you been able to leverage yourself in order to grow?
It's a great question. I think my favorite form of leverage is EXP's revenue share. So, again, EXP is an amazing company. It's a fit for me. It's not a fit for everybody. But what people don't realize is, like, EXP's revenue share opportunity is like compound math. And so most people don't invest because it's delayed gratification. Most people don't participate in revenue share. 88% of the agents at EXP don't participate in revenue share, which is crazy to me. But that has an opportunity to compound. So you can form a relationship with an agent. Like, I brought in 28 agents over 30 months to EXP. Only 16 of them are in production. 16 of the agents that I've partnered with and I have gone and built a group of 560 agents. So that is a type of duplication and multiplication that pays an insane amount of passive income that I just couldn't get if I worked for active income and tried to then reinvest that in investment properties. Like, I have the equivalent of about $10 million worth of investment properties in terms of what my passive income is through EXP. And so it would have taken me probably 10 or 20 years to build that portfolio. In what I was able to do in about 2.5 years with people that I really love, by helping a ton of people. So that opportunity is so underutilized, and it's so amazing and life-changing. But outside of that, I would say that, my favorite piece of leverage is that stuff, that showing agents, transaction coordinators, like, finding things that are there's only one pie. So finding things that are a smaller percentage of that keep you in your strength zone, keep you in front of clients, keep you doing what you love, so that you don't have to, do the parts of the business that honestly nobody enjoys. And people feel like that's their job. And, like, the reality is that's not their job. If you walked into a doctor's office and they were like, oh, nice to, I'm glad you're here. And the doctor came out and was like, here's the clipboard. Would you give me your insurance card? Can I fill all this out? You'd be like, who is this quack? Like, I'm not going to this doctor. I'm not going to, like, oh, hold on, let me go scrub in and then I'm going to, like, operate or whatever. Like, no way, never in a million years would you be okay with that situation. And yet all day long, real estate agents lie to themselves and say, oh, it's okay if I'm, like, the guy who checks the person in and fills out the clipboard and does the paperwork and, is the nurse and the doctor. And, like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, run it like a business. Focus on what you're good at and get people who are good at those other things to focus on those other things.
I laugh because when I owned my brokerage, it was like, okay, so I take out the garbage, I clean the toilets, I make sure that people show up, and, I'm the one that gets in trouble if an ad doesn't get put up from the agents and stuff. And it was like, I always, and that phrase was chief cook and bottle washer, right?
Yeah.
You did everything, right?
Sure.
You do everything. And the leverage that people can say is, well, what do I have to pay for a transaction coordinator? How does that make sense? It makes a lot of sense because you're able to do the things that you like to do. You know,
The biggest fear in hiring leverage in real estate, the first one is like, I haven't sold a house, I have no money, I'm not gonna whatever, which is like so silly, right? Because you need, from the beginning, you have to have the mindset that you're not gonna run at 100% profitability. So you have to make strategic investments from the beginning. Like that's number one. But the biggest fear is that people are going to pay for leverage and then they're not going to take the time that they got back and reinvest it in the things that matter. They know that in order to generate business, they have to be on the phone in front of people, door knocking, going after expireds, working on marketing. They have to do business stuff. They have to do lead generation or lead follow-up activities. And their fear is that they're going to pay somebody to do the busy work, and then they're going to go screw off instead of working on the lead generation activities that would actually make them more money. And so it's like they know themselves. And that's really the trick, is like, how can you get yourself to do something that you know you would rather not do when you have the opportunity to go to the beach or to go party or to go do whatever, so that your investment was actually a worthwhile piece of leverage that actually created an opportunity for you to go get more business.
It's also about doing the essential things that you want to do for yourself as well. I mean, look, whatever the essential parts of your business are, like the definition of a real estate agent is really simple. It's prospecting for business, getting buyer contract signed and seller's contract signed. The definition of a real estate professional is being a real estate agent, a technologist, and a constant creator of relevant content, right? The two definitions go hand in hand, and it's really important that you do that. I mean, maybe number one, being a real estate agent is all you want to be. You don't really want to be that pro. Fine. Then that's where you belong on a team. A real estate pro might be a team leader, but might just be a solo agent, right?
100%. There's no reason, like, not everybody needs a big team. There's lots of ways that you can engineer around that. And I think, you know, it's important to understand that, like, you're right. It's not just about how can I go and lead generate an extra 5 hours. Like, maybe if you so let's say you buy back some of your time. So you want to work 40 hours a week and you're buying back an extra 10 hours based on this TC you hired or whatever. It's totally okay to put 8 of those hours into, you know, your business, and take 2 of those hours for yourself and book yourself a massage, and go, you know, book some time to journal, be reflective, be in nature, whatever the case may be. Like, you do not have to take every single hour that you buy back for yourself and put it back into your business. You can put that back into your mental health, your lifestyle, your relaxation, self-care, whatever the case may be with that.
Well, it's you know, when you look at your business, and a lot of agents want to go out there and they talk about the grind, the grit, the hustle, the whole thing. That's all great. That's all fantastic. But you know what? It's got to be some me time as well, because there's 3 things in life that we have to take care of. One is personal, one is family, one is business. In my opinion, personal is first, because if you can't do best for yourself, how are you going to do best for your family and your business? It's just the way I look at it. And a lot of people will argue that point.
No, you got to put your own oxygen mask on first, right? And your growth will always, or your business growth will always be dictated by your personal growth. So if you're not investing in your own personal well-being and your own personal growth, then can you expect yourself to run a great business? And that's just a really important, like, there's all this toxic culture within real estate regarding like productivity and hustle and grind and all this other shit. Like, I don't think that should be the goal. Like, the goal shouldn't be like, how hard can I grind? The goal should be like, how can I run something smart and effectively so that I can have an amazing life? And, you know, a lot of agents miss the boat with the opportunity to give back. So one of the things I'm known for is helping agents run a mission-driven business, and teaching agents how to build a mission-driven business. And so when you can connect, like, it's great to call your database and be like, hey, you know, I have a big goal this year. Is it okay if I share a goal with you? You know, after you've talked to them and asked them about their life and their goals and everything else, okay if I share a goal with you? And they'll say yes. And you say, oh, I want to help. Well, first of all, the one that doesn't work is like, I want a Lambo. Like, that's not effective. But what most people do is they're like, I want to help 36 families make a move this year. And like, that's great. Except if you were to add on the end, because I know that when I help 36 families make a move, I'm going to be in a position to be able to go to the Boys and Girls Club and buy them all new sporting equipment. And, you know, I remember when I grew up there and I was going to the Boys and Girls Club, we always had the old basketballs and we didn't have great equipment, and it wasn't a great experience. And so, you know, that's really what matters to me, is being able to go and give back to the community, et cetera. Like, when you make that call and you connect the dots to something that actually matters within the community for your people, well, now your database can get involved in that. And now they know that like when they're referring you to someone, they're not just like, oh, John's a great agent. They're like, John's a great agent and he's doing awesome things in the community. And if you support him, then it's going to help him get to his goal. And I can't wait to see those kids get that new sports equipment, because that's going to impact their life. And then they're going to grow up to be better leaders, etc. So it's a big, big piece.
It really is a big thing. I mean, 5 years ago, I sold my brokerage, and I keep talking about this, and I will forever talk about it, because the reason I did it was so that I could help more people, or help people that wanted to be helped, that wanted to work, that really were going to take a lot of different things and be able to use them to help others. And that's why I did it. And it's just
me too. I mean, I had a really good spot. I was really well. I mean, a lot of people were very surprised that I decided to make a move. And the number one reason, I don't talk about this hardly ever, but the number one reason I moved to EXP was because my friend who helped me launch Messy Middle Mastermind, taught me how to, give back and be a mission-driven leader, Sheena Sadam, she was kicking my butt in giving back and doing good in the world. And I realized that I needed a faster vehicle. And so I was riding a bike and she was driving a car, and I needed a rocket ship. And so the reason I joined EXP is because it's just a better opportunity to connect with more people who want help, so that I could further this idea of creating massive impact in the world. And while we're on that topic, I would love to just bring up, guys, the state of Florida has been devastated. The situation in Florida right now is awful. My friend Leslie, she posted this morning like a picture of her house. It's so bad what's going on down there, and I feel really helpless. And I know I'm not helpless. I know we're going to get into action, but right now, like, roads are closed. You can't send like UPS. You can't send Amazon. I have some friends who are there locally, and we've Venmoed them a good amount of money, and I would love to continue to Venmo them. So if you want to get involved directly today in people who need help, whose lives were destroyed, whose businesses are going to be closed, whose homes were completely flooded, who have literally lost everything that they have, please reach out to me, DM me. I'll send you some ways to get involved. And I had this idea last night. So I'm throwing this event in a couple weeks in Asheville. It's for Messy Middle Mastermind. We're doing an event of about 50 people. And I want to kick this off there. But for anybody who's watching right now, I had this great idea. What I would love to do is I would love to start a movement in our industry right now for real estate agents who want to do some good for our friends and family in Florida whose businesses and lives have been devastated. And what I think would work really well is if people could commit to sort of adopting a family, a real estate agent in the affected areas, people in the Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, et cetera, that have just lost everything, and start sending them a referral fee. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 10%, maybe you're really generous and it's 25%. And you commit to sending a referral fee to those people on transactions that they didn't refer to you. But I know that if we had a massive earthquake in Southern California and my entire life was destroyed, it would bring me a lot of comfort to know that there were agents around the world that were giving up a small piece of what they were earning, sending it into my community and sending it into me to make sure that I could provide for my family. So if anybody's watching this and they want to get involved in that and become a part of that, that's something I'm really passionate about. And I would love the opportunity to get a bunch of people to take care of these people, because as real estate agents, as independent contractors, we don't have that safety net. We don't have that support system. And we really need to be there as a support system to each other. And I would hope people would do that for me if that were the case.
Well, we've got your Instagram up. We've got your Facebook group, your email address, your phone number, so they can text you, they can DM you, and as well as me, VJ Finale, and it's John Pugh. I apologize for the mistake there.
I'll find it.
But this is something that's really, really important, because I don't believe that they were as prepared as they should have been, simply because I was in Florida last week, and all the models were saying, "Oh, it's just going to be a little bit of rain, and it was going to bypass everything." It didn't. It went right across the center of the state. And
some of my really very closest friends are there, and I've been literally getting communication for the last 3 days straight up, and seen videos and pictures, and it's awful. There's no words that can describe how horrible the situation is for these people. You see the pictures, and it doesn't do it justice. When you hear their voice, when you talk to them and see minute by minute what they're going through, you wouldn't wish that on your worst enemy. It's literally the worst thing you can imagine.
Well, John, you know what? It's there's that is probably the best way to put this day is to help people, and that's what we've talked about throughout the last 45 minutes or so, and talking about helping people in the real estate business. But this is another way to help people in the real estate business. I mean, it's we are not experiencing it. I mean, I experienced it through Hurricane Sandy. Not as much the flooding, but the devastation of being without power and food and everything else for just a short period of time. It's nothing compared to what they're going through down in Florida right now. So to get in touch with John is It's John Pugh. That is at It's John Pugh on Instagram, and you can find him on Facebook as well, and on TikTok it's at it's John Pugh as well. For me, it's at the Dave Finale on both, of course, Facebook, and my information is all over the place. John, anything you want to say to finalize our discussion before we get rolling here? I mean, that's like the most important thing we said all day.
Yeah, 100% it is. And I'm glad we were able to talk about that. And I really appreciate you giving me the platform to at least put that idea out there. I hope people latch onto it. I'm going to do my best to put it out there to as many people as possible. I've got agents coming from pretty much all over the country to this event in about 2 weeks, where I think we'll be able to really bring that back to our communities. But hopefully this is the first opportunity people hear of it and they take up that challenge, and we're able to, find and match agents who have a need with agents that are willing to be generous. And you have to understand, like, the law of attraction and the way the universe works is that, if you have an abundance mindset and you're willing to give and you're willing to be generous, that's what comes back to you. That is where deals start falling into your lap. That's where people start to really respect you and look up to you, and decide that you're the type of person that they want to work with. And if just because you don't have all the deals you think you need right now, just because you're worried about the market or you're concerned that your cash flow might not be what it was next year, like, that's the exact reason you need to do this. Like, that's the exact reason you need to give. Because if you're in a position where your life was not completely devastated and you're still unwilling to even give like what you may not have, then you will just get less and less. And if you can look at this moment right now and say, this is an opportunity for me to put my money where my mouth is and to make a commitment and to take care of some people, then you're going to be even more motivated to get up and go to work and do the work for them. Like, you might not make your calls for you, but you will make your calls for somebody whose life was completely destroyed. And if that's the mindset that you have, like, I'm reaching out to my database today to see how I can drum up business so that I can make an impact in these people's lives that were completely destroyed. That's a different frame of mind. That's a different energy you bring to the table. If your mindset is, I'm going to go knock on these doors today, or I'm going to talk to this expired today, like, that's your armor. You got to put on armor every day when you go and face the world and get told no. Right. And I don't care. You can tell me no. You can tell me I'm the worst person ever. Oh, I knocked on your door and I'm the biggest piece of shit because I'm here to earn a sale so that I can support families in this area that has been completely devastated. Like, that's on you. That's not on me. And I'm going to go to the next door and the next door and the next door. And I'm not going to stop prospecting until I take care of those people that need to be taken care of. So if you need an excuse to get your ass off the couch and get into action in this tough market, I just gave you the best one you could ever have.
Thank you so much for that, man. That's really cool. It kind of really is an eye opener and a cup of coffee for people to wake up to and wake up with. So I want to thank you, John, for coming up. I got a couple of quick things for you. Number one, I think I know the answer to this question is, how can I help you grow your business? How can Dave Finale help you grow your business, John?
I mean, honestly, giving me this platform has been phenomenal. Helping people get involved in this. I mean, honestly, grow my business is help impact more people. I look at it like a butterfly wing or a drop in the pond. And I know that if I put one drop in the pond, those ripples are going to go out and it's going to impact you. And then you're going to impact others. And whoever's watching this is going to spread this message, and that's going to continue to do good in the world. So that's the best way. Share this, like this, follow me, get involved, like, be inspired, start a mission-driven business, like, do something more than just selling one more house. That would mean the world to me.
Hey, man, last and certainly not least, everybody knows that when they come on the broadcast, this is the main reason they come on, is they all get a hat.
Yeah.
This is the main reason that most people come on. So at least that's what I'm told anyway. So the hat is coming out to you. It's how we end every broadcast. John, thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being my friend. And you know what? This business has a way of making us all neighbors, as well as technology today. So thanks again. Just stay on for a minute, and everybody, we will see you all next week. And we have a great program for you next week. We have Byron Lazine coming on from Broke Agent Media. He's going to be on, and he is relatively probably one of the most seen people these days that you're seeing out there on Instagram for the most part. At least that's how I found him. Anyway, so awesome. Thanks, John, again. Stay on for one quick minute. We're going to go out, and we'll be right back.